Welcome, Middlers, to the Medium in the Middle podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I take you on a journey of self-discovery and spiritual exploration. I am a Reiki master teacher, a spiritual and business mentor, and of course, a psychic medium. And I am here to share my story and help you tap into your extraordinary abilities. Join me every Wednesday as we dive into the realms of intuition, energy healing, and all things mystical. Whether you're a seasoned spiritual seeker or just dipping your toes into the magical waters, this podcast is your go-to source for inspiration, guidance, and a whole lot of lessons and laughter along the way. Let's get started. Hello, Middlers. Welcome to episode 311. My name is Stephanie. I am the medium in the middle. Welcome back if you're a middler. Welcome if you're new. If you are just starting out on your spiritual development journey, I recommend going back to episode 1 and starting at the beginning. The first 10 episodes are very helpful for people. Usually they feel very seen, and it can help you with maybe some questions you might be having. You can also search the podcast just like Google, so whatever you need help with, boundaries, energy, mediumship, Akashic records, psychic, channelers, I have episodes to help you along the way. But today we are celebrating a very special episode. Medium in the Middle turns 6 years old today. The .com was launched. This was the day that I launched my website. And I kind of want to share my entrepreneur journey a little bit in this episode because it's very easy to see my story and it might look fast on the internet. Again, when I share a story in 20 minutes, that took me 2 years to learn. 20 minutes seems fast, 2 years doesn't. So just sharing how I got going. If you are looking at starting your own business, knowing the steps to take or the processes of how things roll. And I always want to share the behind the scenes with you guys so you know what reality looks like. I will never sugarcoat any of this. But we have a lot to celebrate here at Medium in the Middle. The .com turns 6 years old today. We are about to hit 1 million downloads. Maybe by next week or the week after, we will be there. And then in August, the podcast turns 7. So there's a lot to celebrate here at Medium in the Middle. But today we're talking about Medium in the Middle turning 6. Happy birthday to my little business baby. Just as a reminder, the podcast is taking a break. So there will be 2 more podcast episodes, and June 24th will be the last episode for the summer. I will be taking July and August off, and then I'll be back September 9th with regular scheduled programming, weekly episodes. I did go in and add a lot more mediumship practice circles. So if you are looking to join a circle, they still are selling out. So I would highly recommend that if you see a date that works for you, that you register. The next one is on June 27th, and there are 2 or 3 in July as well. I will leave all the links you need down below in the show notes. The next Reiki Level 1 course is in November, and Level 2 is booking into August. So we are going to take a little walk down memory lane. So to give you a little Coles Notes version of the process of how I got here and how all things have branched out to be the way they are now, my entire journey started in early 2018. So in early 2018 is when I took my Reiki Level 1 course, and then I took my Reiki Level 2 course. That's when all my abilities started to open up. That's when I started to realize I could talk to the dead and just things started happening. It was summer of 2018 that I decided I had to move back to Banff. So I moved back to Banff in the fall of 2018. Once this ball was rolling, it was rolling fast. So if you guys have been here since the start, or if you've listened to the beginning, I was engaged. I was living in Ontario. I was in a big $1 million house. And after my Reiki Level 1 and 2, I just knew I had to make a change. I quit my job. I went to Costa Rica and I took my yoga teacher training. And I just knew I had to make myself uncomfortable. And I knew the life that I was living was not the one I wanted. And the only person that was going to change that was me. And I just kept telling myself, I am not a tree. I can move. I am not a tree. I can move. So July 2018, we actually came back to Banff for the first time since we moved away because I had met my ex-fiance Joe here in Banff. We got engaged, moved back to Ontario together, and we hadn't been back to Banff since we left. And I was avoiding it, honestly, because I just couldn't come back. The first year I left Banff, I couldn't talk about it. Year 2, I was in anger mode. People used to be like, why did you leave Banff? I was always angry about it. Year 3, it was like sadness. So when we were finally going back for this wedding, I was so excited. So July 2018, we came back for a wedding. That was the first time visiting Banff, and I just knew I had to come back. I was like, I'm coming back, we're moving back. And I remember running down the streets of Banff, and I was telling everybody, we're moving back. And Joe was running behind me being like, no, we're not, don't listen to her. And I was like, we're moving back, give me a reason to move back, who's gonna give me a job? And everyone that I met, I said, I'm moving back, I need a job. I was manifesting before I knew what manifesting was. So I'm running around Banff, telling everyone that I'm moving back here. Joe's running behind me, telling everyone, no, we're not, don't listen to Steph. And when we came home from the wedding, that was all I could think about. And I had quit my job at Lululemon. I had taken these Reiki trainings. I had gone to Costa Rica. And I was thinking, when I came back from 1 month away at Costa Rica doing my yoga teacher training, I'll try to get a job. I had lots of qualifications. I had started my own eyelash business at the time. I was coaching CrossFit. So I had a lot of side jobs. I think I was also teaching yoga, but I didn't have like a main income job. I've always been a 3-job type of person. And I couldn't get a job for the life of me. Walmart wouldn't hire me. Tim Hortons wouldn't hire me. Nowhere would hire me. And I was like, what is going on here? Why can't I get a job anywhere? And it finally dawned on me, I think this is when my intuition really started to kick in, that I wasn't going to get a job because I wasn't supposed to be in Ontario. And this was a huge aha moment, maybe like my first real download of, yeah, you can do whatever you want to try to get a job. You're not going to get one. You need to go back to Banff. And as soon as I realized that I had to go back to Banff, and I was like, okay, well, I need to replenish my bank account because I've just been off for a few months. I went to Costa Rica. I did this month-long teacher training. I need money. So I didn't say this at the time, but I was like, universe, like if you want me to go back to Banff, I need a job and I need money because I need to get my bum back to Banff, and that costs money because it's across the country from where I was living. And I also needed a job. So I remember it was, I think within 4 days, maximum 7, it was less than a week, that as soon as I had the realization that I wasn't going to get a job because I wasn't supposed to be in Ontario, I had to move back to Banff. Okay, well, if I'm moving back to Banff, I need to get a job in Ontario to make money to move back to Banff. With less than 7 days, I know it was less than a week. I want to say it was 4 days. I got a job. And I got a job back at the mall where I used to work at Lululemon. And everyone at Lululemon was like, Steph, why didn't you just come back to Lululemon? We would have hired you in a heartbeat. Like, why didn't you come back? And I told them as a secret, I was like, I'm not staying. And I didn't want to come back to Lulu and then leave 2 months later. I was like, I just need to make enough money to get me back to Banff. Like, I'm leaving. And they were like, what? Because everyone knows that I had lived in Banff. I loved Banff. I always hated Ontario. I remember my managers were always like, Steph, have you given Ontario a chance? I was like, I grew up here. I don't want to be here. And I said, yeah, I gave Ontario enough of a chance. I got to go. So they all knew that I loved Banff. That's all I talked about. Banff is all I talk about all the time. Especially when I wasn't living here. So I had Lulu that was trying to get me back, and I said, guys, you can't tell the store I'm working at because I was working just down the hall at Sage, the oil shop. And there was a really cool team there, and my manager was really nice, and I felt like I was deceiving her because I was like, I'm not staying. I just need to make enough money to move me back to Banff. And at this time, I had somehow convinced Joe that he was going to move with me as well, and we were going to move back to Banff for a year. That was our agreement. So I got the job, I think in July or August. I worked August, September, and I was going to quit on my birthday in October because I wanted to be in Banff for November 1st. So I did just that. And it was the day before I was quitting. I believe it was my birthday. or it was Thanksgiving weekend because my birthday's Thanksgiving weekend. So I was putting in my 2 weeks notice on my birthday so that I could finish at the end of October so that I could be in Banff by November 1st. It was a few days before I was talking to my boss, and she was telling me about how there was a new Sage opening and it was closer to my house. And she realized that I was a good worker and I had been in retail for a long time. I had been in management before, and I just kind of took a role as just a sales associate at Sage. And I was one of the highest salespeople, and I was, always their top 3 sales. And my boss was so good. She recognized me. And in that very short period of time, she gave me 2 raises. And she was just I just want you to know, I see you. I see you're working hard. I see your sales numbers. You're really good. I want to keep you. I want to make sure you're happy. She gave me 2 raises in 2 months. And I just remember being oh, I feel so awful because I'm leaving, but I can't tell you that right now. So it was a few days before I was planning to quit and put my 2 weeks notice in. She pulled me aside and she said, hey, listen, I know you drive in. I drove about an hour to the location. And she said, I know you drive in from where you live. And I just want you to know that we're opening a store closer to you. It's in a mall. It'll be a brand new store. They're looking for a store manager. And I'm going to put your name in. And with my referral, I think you'll have a very good chance. I know you're not supposed to be a sales associate. You would be a good store manager. And I think that I'm going to groom you for this and we're going to get you ready. And I was just sitting there and I was oh no. So I had to tell her. And I said, you are so nice. I appreciate you so much. I was but I'm quitting in 2 days. And she started crying. Julie, if you ever hear this, I remember you. I appreciate you. You are amazing. You are the sweetest thing ever. She literally started crying, and I was oh, this is so hard. They're giving me not everything I wanted, but I was oh, I really liked working for Sage. I would be so cool to be a store manager. It'd be so cool to do a new store opening, all of the things. So I went home, and I remember telling Joe at the time, hey, my manager was kind of telling me about this new store that's opening closer to her house, and that she was wanting to put me in for store manager, la, la, la. And now I know, fast forward 2026, that was a test. That was a test from the universe to be you want to stay, or are you going to actually do what you should do and leave? So when I was telling Joe this, I went home and I told him. He was oh, so you're going to take it, right? And I was no, I'm going to Banff. I'm quitting in 2 days. And it was at that time that I knew he wasn't going to come with me. And I was oh, you don't want to go. Of course I didn't say this. It was all in my head. So he was just well, no, Steph, this is a good opportunity. You could be store manager. What if la, la, la? And I was nope. I don't think I said this is a test. I think I was nope, it would have been cool, but no, I'm leaving. So anyway, so then I quit, and then I put in my 2 weeks notice. I moved to Banff. Joe didn't end up coming. We ended up breaking up, and that wrapped up 2018. Starting of 2019, I'm in Banff. I'm living in a basement apartment, as happy as a pig in shit, and just living my best life. I had everything opening up for me. I found somewhere to do Reiki. I was working at a spa. I found somewhere to live because my housing was temporary. I only had housing for 6 months. Then I found somewhere to live in 6 months from then. Banff is impossible to find housing. It was just all of these things were lining up. And then I was also developing as a medium, and I was meeting all these people, and all of this stuff was happening. And I just knew I had to start a podcast. I was tired of telling all these stories over and over and over again, and I knew I wanted to start a podcast. So it was March of 2019. I bought all of the podcast equipment. So between March and August of 2019, I bought the podcast equipment. I was messing around with the intro. I was trying to figure out a name. I was recording episodes. I was trying to learn the mic. I was trying to learn my equipment. I was buying a new laptop because my old laptop wouldn't work, which is still crazy to me because I spent $2,000 on a laptop for me to make this podcast. And at this time, I just moved across the country. I was working as a server. I might have been a manager by now because I was moving to be assistant general manager of a restaurant that I used to work at, that I actually still work at sometimes. I do their shows. I MC for them. Give me a microphone anywhere, in person, on a podcast, I will jump on it. It wasn't like I was rolling in money. I was renting a room in a basement, But I spent $2,000 on this laptop, no problem. Released the podcast in August 2019. Then this was around the time that the pandemic hit. So shortly after that, we started going in and out of losing our jobs. The restaurants were open, restaurants were closed, flatten the curve, whatever was going on back in 2019, 2020. And I started to get a lot of requests and DMs of people who wanted virtual appointments. And I was getting messages like 10 times a day. And my business brain was like, I'm saying no to money every day. So when I did lose my job, I started to be like, okay, I need to figure out how to work online. I need to figure out how, now I have all the time in the world because no one's working. We're all at home on the internet, on TikTok. So that's what I did. I started building my website and I started testing things. I ran distance Reiki tests. I did my 50 sessions where I did a control group and a not control group, and does distance really work, and testing it out, and well, what would I offer online, and what kind of booking system do I use, and what kind of website do I use, and how do I make a calendar, and how do I figure out availability, and all of the noise that you have to figure out and the logistics. And I spent weeks, was it months? It was a long time building my website, like at least 80 hours or more. I remember it took me like 3 hours how to figure out how to add a button, like a book now button. I was so frustrated. I wasn't very tech savvy, but I had internet, a laptop, and a dream. And I was like, no, I have nothing else to do. I lost my job at a restaurant. I'm going to launch this website. All the while, I'm still in year 1 of the podcast. So I'm still releasing a weekly podcast. And then I have everything ready to go. I have everything prepped. I had it tested. I had like my friends run through the website. I had, people pretend to book to make sure all the links worked and all the buttons worked and all the book now buttons worked. And then I was going to release it on June 2nd, 2020. And I woke up in the morning and I had everything prepped and ready to go. And I had the podcast episode that was launching the website. And I had all of these social media posts ready to go. And then I woke up to Blackout Tuesday, where the internet went black for Black Lives Matter. And I was like, of course, I cannot post today because the whole movement was about not posting on social media. So then I was like, okay, well, I can't release the launch of my website, and I also can't release a podcast today because that also feels wrong. And it was a huge viral social media protest, and the intention was to disrupt business as usual. So I knew that I couldn't release that week's podcast, and I knew that I couldn't launch the website. So then I was also thinking, well, I can't just launch it tomorrow because that also defeats the purpose of Blackout Tuesday. And there was a few days after Blackout Tuesday that people just weren't posting. So then I decided to release it on the next Tuesday. I said, okay, I just won't release anything this week. I'll wait a whole next week because at that time I was releasing new podcast episodes every Tuesday. So I released the episode. I released everything the next week, which was June 9th, 2020. And I pressed publish and put my website out into the world. TheMediuminthemiddle.com was born. All of my hard work and hours and hours and hours of sitting at a computer and testing and doing practice appointments and trying to figure out how to build a website and trying to figure out my offerings and pricing and pictures for the website. I had to do a photo shoot. I had to research things. I was asking people for favors. I was doing trades. I was doing everything I could possibly do while social distancing in order to get this all up and running. So June it started. And I got 4 bookings on the day that I launched. It was amazing. I was so excited. And it was much busier than I thought or I expected because everyone was at home. So I remember June, July, August, I was getting lots of bookings. And because it was COVID and we were bored, I was working 7 days a week. I was like, I have nothing else to do. So I was working lots. And then everyone started asking for distance Reiki courses. And I was like, how in the hell can I teach Reiki over distance? And I was trying to rack my brain. At first I was like, no, you can't. You have to be in person. You have to be in person. But again, it was COVID. So this was at the time when like Harvard was going online, doctors were learning online. And I just remember thinking, if like the top universities are going online and doctors and surgeons are learning online, surely I can figure out how to teach energy online. Like I know how to teach in person. I was teaching in person. Let me just make the necessary adjustments to make this a virtual course. And again, everyone was home. So I launched my first course in September. It sold out faster than I could have thought. So I launched a second course in September. It sold out. Then I launched 2 in October. Then I launched 2 in November. And that's what started my 2 courses a month, was that they were just filling like hotcakes. And then I started to figure out, okay, well, now I have to start teaching level 2 online. And how do I do that? And how do I make sure everyone has a volunteer? And what do I do to make sure everyone learns and they have everything they need and they have all the resources to set them up for success? Because the biggest thing for me as a teacher is setting my students up for success, making sure they have all the resources they need, and making sure that they have every piece of information I wish I had, giving them things that took me years to learn. I always say I want to give you everything on day 1, so it doesn't take you years to learn like it did for me. So, I'm going through all these processes, and then things slowly start to open up again. So, restaurants are coming back, and I was teaching yoga at the time. And I was doing Reiki. Again, I've always had 3 jobs. I've always worked 7 days a week. It was just very normal for me. And slowly, online was getting so busy that I had to like cut things back. So I remember I stopped teaching yoga. I was teaching 5 classes a week. And then I was like, okay, I can't teach yoga anymore. And then I was still doing Reiki on the side, and I was still working at the restaurant. And then I was like, okay, I'll go part-time at the restaurant. So I won't be AGM anymore. I'll step down and I'll just be manager. So I was doing part-time manager, but then I was like, I can't be part-time manager anymore. Between doing Reiki on the side, the podcast, virtual, working in person, I eventually had to give up working at the restaurant. So June 2020, I launched my website. By January 2021, I was full-time medium in the middle, and I was rolling. Same thing, I was still working 6 or 7 days a week because we were in lockdown, we were not in lockdown, we were at home, we were away, it was winter, so again, I had nothing really else to do, and I just worked and worked and worked. And year over year, I was making more and more money, and I just couldn't believe it. And everyone around me was telling me, oh, it's just because of the pandemic. Oh, your business won't keep making money. Oh, when everyone goes back to work, just like expect this all to go away. Like, oh, it can't stay like this forever. Oh, like the heat will die down. Oh, this won't be maintainable. What are you going to do when this all goes away? What are you going to do when this doesn't work? What are you going to do when this fails? What are you going to do when people stop booking? What are you going to do when na? And, it got in my head, and I was like, no, all these people are right. Like, everyone's home. Everyone's working from home. Everyone had extra income because all the income we spent at restaurants, we all had in our pockets. So everyone was taking a Reiki course, which I thought was amazing. And I was waiting for it to slow down. So year 1, 2021, year 2, 2022 grew. Year 3, 2023 grew. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I kept waiting for the bubble to pop. So I was running. I kept running. I was like, yep, we're going to do more. 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 I'm going to work every day, do more. And then eventually I had to stop listening to the naysayers and the people who don't run a business who were trying to tell me business advice. And I was like, well, I've somehow magically grown my business to grow, not just like a little bit every year. I was growing like 20%, 35%. They were big jumps. It was like crazy things that I never expected. And all of my experience of business, from working in the restaurant and working in retail and all my different manager positions and running hotels and running events, they just like all mushed together, where I was like, oh wait, like I know how to do this. I can market myself. I can build a business. Oh, I want to make more money than last year. Okay, I can figure this out. Now I knew how to manifest. Now I knew how to ask for money. And everything was just falling into place. And today, here I am on June 9th, 2026, celebrating completing 6 years in business. I am walking into year 7. 2025, again, last year was hard. That was the only year that business didn't grow. I think it had like minus 6% over the last year, but the last year was like plus 40%. So I wasn't that upset with it, but I was like, oh my gosh, my business didn't grow. And I've been doing entrepreneurship for so long now. Like my brain hurts. I can't keep pushing. I can't keep running. I just want to go pour coffee somewhere. I want to work for someone else. I was telling my friends that. I was like, guys, I'm done. Like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I can't keep running. And then I realized eventually it's not about growth every year. You don't have to just keep doing year over year, more. What's the point? I need to live my life. I had been working so hard for 5.5 years, more than that, but like, especially in the business. Again, I've always had 3 jobs. So I'm used to working 7 days a week. When I was in university, I had 3 jobs. I worked at a grocery store. I worked at La Vie en Rose, little pajama lingerie store. And I worked at a liquor store on the border. I just have always had 3 jobs and I've always made it work. So going back to last week's episode, when my body stopped working, that was like the big crash of like, what are you doing? You need to change something. And here's a big reality check. And I was feeling so low. I wasn't feeling like myself. I know I mentioned it in the last episode, but not going to the gym every day. I do that for my mental health. Yes, I want to be fit, and yes, it's good to move your body and blah, 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 but I do that for my brain. I work out for my brain. I need that 1 hour where someone else is telling me what to do, and I'm just counting to 10 and doing my reps. So not having that mental health piece was very, very difficult for me. And I just wanted to give up. I was like, I can't keep pushing. I can't keep finding ways to grow. I can't keep doing this. Like, it's exhausting. And I just realized, what was I doing? Why was I working so hard? Why was I chasing money? What do I need money for? Again, I didn't take any time off that year, really, because I had bought the house. And I was like, oh, I need to live my life. Like, I'm still young. I need to live my life. Again, I don't have a partner. I don't have kids. I could be doing whatever I wanted, and I'm just working. So that's where the big shift happened. That's why this year, again, I'm so focused on rest. I'm so focused on 2 days off. And I just had to accept that, hey, even if I don't grow, even if I lose money, I need to take 2 days off. I need to live my life. I need to reap the benefits of all my hard work and this drive that I've been working for the last 6 years. And then what happens this year? I'm rewarded with a viral video in February 2026. I had videos go viral on TikTok and Instagram. My Instagram following grew from 8,000 to 33,000 in a few weeks. I had been trying to grow to 10,000 for years. Like, if you go back to my goals book, every year it says hit 10,000 on Instagram, hit 10,000 on Instagram. And then boom, in a week I did it. On TikTok, I had 1,000 followers. Now I have 20,000 followers. And again, marketing works. The more eyes, the more customers. And this year is already up like 56% over last year. So it's just huge growth, and I'm working less. Huge growth, and I have time off. Huge growth, and I have booked off vacations this year. I haven't booked anything for where I'm going, but I have time off in July. I have 10 days off in August. I booked off time around my birthday. I am taking 3 weeks around Christmas, and I'm going to go and do a big trip, I think, to Thailand. I was like, no, I'm living life this year. I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to work smart, and I'm going to keep moving, but I'm working smarter, not harder, and I need to live my life because I just can't work every day for what? To work and work and work and work and work. That was fun for 5 years. Now I need to make sure this is sustainable, and I don't want to sink. I don't want to be overwhelmed, and I don't want to burn out. I love my work. I love what I do. I love the people I work with. I love being able to do what I love every single day. It really does not feel like work to me. I love every piece of what I do. I love mentoring. I love Reiki. I love teaching Reiki. I love the mediumship practice circles. I love meeting you in person. I love meeting you virtually. I just quite literally love what I do every single day. I am the happiest person in the world, living in the best place in the world. And it's just all been so curated and perfect, like I mentioned in last week's episode, that I have to enjoy it now. And it's not all about work. It's not all about money. It doesn't matter what's in my bank account. It matters how I'm living, what I'm doing, what I'm experiencing. And I need to start focusing more on the living piece. So I'm here to say thank you for the last 6 years. I'm here to celebrate the last 6 years in business, being an entrepreneur for the last 5, solopreneur. Going into year 7, I would say I'm ready to hit the ground running, but I'm ready to walk. I'm ready to maintain. I'm ready to enjoy. I'm ready to find my stride. And yeah, I've learned a lot over the last 6 years in business. I love business. I love my business brain. I love numbers. I love end of month, end of quarter, end of year. I like tracking year over year growth. I love seeing how I can make more in less time. I like taking more time off. I love that aspect, which is why I do allow myself to teach on business once a year. In October, I teach my business course. It is planned for this year. It's on October 10th. Save the date. But once a year, I teach on business, and it's for the spiritual people. It's for the not spiritual people. I have had lots of different people hire me for my business brain. I had someone who worked for NASCAR that hired me, and she said, you know nothing about my industry, but I like the way you think. I've had doctors hire me that own their own practices. I've had social workers, just different avenues of people who are like, I like your business brain, apply it to my area. And I think that's a very big piece of what makes me successful is, number one, I love what I do. I'm good at what I do. But I do think that's second to I'm very business focused. I'm a businesswoman first, always. I run a business. This isn't a part-time job. This isn't a hobby. This isn't just for fun. I'm running a business, and I'm a business lady first. I look at numbers. I look at what is worth it, not worth it. I look at my time. I look at output and input. I look at return on investments, the ROI, the cost of customers, the cost of all of the things. I have spreadsheets for everything and numbers for everything, and I love that. I love year over year growth. I love how much are we up compared to last year. I love where was I last year at this time compared to where am I this year at this time. When does end of month do? By the 3rd. I love doing end of month. So all of that is what has kept me kicking for this long. Yes, you still have to be very good at what you do. And I'm lucky that I have a lot of experience in what I do. But my entrepreneur brain is what got me here. And going back to 2018, 2017, I used to do eyelash extensions, and I just wanted to start a business. And I wanted to start a business with low investment. So I was like, I need to figure out a business that I can start for low investment because I just want to learn business. I want to learn, how do you run a business? How do you acquire clients? What's the back end like? What's marketing like? And that's the whole reason why I became a lash technician, is because I wanted to just run a business for a low startup cost. So I started for less than $1,000, and I learned so much from my eyelash business. Shout out to Namaste Lashes. And I used that as my guinea pig. And I was like, you know what? This is kind of low risk, and I can use this business to learn. And I've used all of my knowledge from working in hotels, from doing weddings, from organizing events, working in retail, working in management, working at the grocery store, working in sales. Everything has brought me to where I am now today. And I can't wait for year 7. Here we go. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening to this very special episode celebrating 6 years of the .com. TheMediumInTheMiddle.com was released 6 years ago today. And I hope this encourages you. I hope this keeps you going. I hope you see the journey is not always straight. It can take twists and turns. It might not be what you expect. It's not always rainbows and butterflies, but you just got to keep going. And I really do believe it was my intuition that was pushing me, even when I didn't know what intuition was. The fact that I quit Lululemon still just to make myself uncomfortable, that was weird. I don't know why I felt so strongly I had to do that. And then I just wanted to go on a week vacation, and I wanted to do like a yoga retreat. But then I noticed that for the same price as a 1-week yoga retreat, I could do a 1-month yoga teacher training for like $2,000 more. And I was like, $2,000 more for a month versus a week. That makes sense to me. And I would get a certificate, and then I could teach yoga. So I went and did that. I went by myself to Costa Rica for a month and I did my yoga teacher training and I just figured out my life. And then I realized I wasn't on the path I wanted to be on, and my Saturn return hit, and I left my fiance, I left the big house, I moved across the country, and I restarted. And it's never too late to restart. The best time to restart or start was yesterday. The second best time is today. So I hope this encourages you. I hope that this shows you that things are possible in the spiritual community. You can be successful. You can make this your full-time job. It is hard work. It is a grind. I tell everyone, 3 to 5 years, you're going to be working. You're going to be grinding. It is 6 to 7 days a week before you can slow down, especially if you want to make income, good income, sustainable income. I've bought myself 2 houses. You guys have seen me when I bought myself the Audi in cash. You guys have seen me when I've gone on the vacations and done the things. You guys have also seen me when I've worked my bum off for years. So there's 2 sides of the coin, and I always like to show both because I just don't want people to think that it's easy, but it is possible. So I will be popping some bubbly. I'll be eating some cake. I'll be doing something for this 6 years. I did already buy myself a Gucci bag. That was my happy 6 years to the .com and happy 7 years to the podcast. And I bought a pair of expensive sunglasses as well. So it was a little Gucci gift for me. Thank you, Medium in the Middle, for the presents. But we're still going to have cake and we're still going to have bubblies and we're still going to celebrate 6 years. So thank you, Middlers. Thank you for being here. As always, all the links you need are down below in the show notes. TheMediuminthemiddle.com is my website with all the information at Medium in the Middle everywhere on social media, TikTok, Instagram. There's 2 more episodes before we take a break. And trust me, you do not want to miss these last 2 episodes. I have been avoiding this one, and you will find out why. Oof, we'll talk about it. It's what a psychic once told me. Were they right? Were they wrong? We'll see. But until next Wednesday, Middlers, when I see you in your ears, I hope you have a wonderful week.